So the number one comment on my channel by far is actually a question, and I think it's a really important question. People want to know, should I do this tip with all my clubs? So right after this, let's talk about some of the subtle adjustments that you can make to ensure that you can use the same swing motion with every club in your bag. Stay tuned. Hey, this is Steve with HitItLonger.com, and if you like this video, I hope you'll subscribe for even more content. All right, so the first subtle adjustment you want to make in order to make every club swinging motion the same is going to be a little bit in the stance. Now, let's lay a stick down to denote where I'll be lining my feet, and let's say that this is square to my target line. Okay. Now, very few clubs in your bag are actually going to be straight to the target line if you want to make only one motion. But watch as I'm hitting an 8-iron. The reason I'm going to be lining my feet up left, so you can see here, I've kind of got, here's square, I've kind of got my left foot pulled back. Oh, it's going to be about 1.25 inches for an 8-iron for me. And then I might flare it a few degrees. Let me show you from this angle. So if I pull this back just about this much, I'm just going to flare it about 15-20 degrees or so. And so it gives the appearance that my feet are actually aligned a little bit to the left. And this is important. This isn't just a personal style thing, preference thing, but this is actually it's a geometric correction for the way that the arc comes down and strikes the ball. So if I were to play this square, see, I'd like to preferably hit down or make a descending blow very subtly with the irons or anything that really sits on the ground, including your fairway woods and your hybrids, will be very, very subtly down. And that means, you see, as I descend on it, the club is still going to be in the inside to out arc. So the steeper I hit down on the ball and bottom out more in front of it, the more I'm going to catch the ball in the push part of the arc. So I'm going to cancel that out with a little subtle opening of the stance like this. Now an 8-iron is, for me, is about 1.25 inches. As I move to, let's say, a sand wedge, here's a 56-degree sand wedge. My stance will open up even more. I might get as much as, say 2 inches open. So, in other words, I'm moving my swing plane. I'm going to swing along my foot line. I'm going to move my swing plane to this line, just a few degrees to the left, in order to counteract the push that occurs when I hit down on the ball or I catch the ball before the bottom of the arc. It's still going to be traveling rightwards of its overall swing plane. So that's why I'd be opening up about this much on a sand wedge. And you'll see my feet are pretty square to the stick line, but compared to the target line, they're open. I swing along the stick line, and the ball, instead, the path of the club will be square to my target. Now with a driver, if you're hitting for efficient distance, you'll be catching the ball on the way up. And of course, this is going to reverse the process. So if you watch this, I'm going to come down, and I'm coming from the inside. And let's say right at the bottom of my arc, my club is moving with a straight path, but it's bottomed out about 5 inches behind the ball. Well, in this case, we'll exaggerate it. Let's put it 15 inches behind the ball so you can really see. So here the club is moving right down the target line for this moment. But as the club starts to ascend, the path is going to turn outside to in or around to the left as I'm hitting up on it. So if you know that you're hitting up on the ball, then what you'll want to do is make a little adjustment and actually close the stance slightly. This is not to promote an inside-out draw. An inside-out stance and a slightly rightwards plane when combined with an upwards angle of attack, is going to come around and square up to the target beautifully and hit the ball straight to straight. Slightly closed stance. Now up here in the corner of the screen, you see some of the stats for that last drive. The important ones being the swing direction. That's my horizontal swing plane was about 4.5 degrees to the right. And yet, because I hit up on the ball 4.4 degrees, my path was only 0.7 degrees from in to out. So basically a very straight swing path at the moment of the strike, but the swing plane was rightward. So you can see how the driver and the irons are opposite or whatever, depending on your angle of attack. So you've got to make a stance adjustment depending on what your angle of attack is. The steeper you're going to hit the ball, the more left you'll play it. So if you're going to play a more of a low driving punch shot, you should probably open up your stance a little bit more on whatever club you're using. If you're trying for a drive and you hit up on the ball, then you're going to go a little bit rightward with your stance. But this way you can use the same motion for every club. Now another simple adjustment that you'll need to make if you would like to use one swing motion for all your clubs is going to be ball position. Ball position will vary very slightly from club to club. If you want to strike them correctly, compress them correctly, get the right height out of them. You notice I've laid down an alignment stick again. I've got some golf balls here. What's important when you're trying to create the right ball position is that you make a swing motion that gives you the correct, what I call zero line. So the zero line would technically be wherever the club bottoms out and reaches the lowest part of the arc. Now see, right now, I've got that right in my left heel. So every swing I make, I just have to make sure that it bottoms out right about my left heel. So here's a 5-iron in my stance. Now I've got a 5-iron about, the back of the ball is about 2 inches inside the zero line. So my ball position would look like this on a 5-iron. It'd be forward of center. Of course, I've got my leftwards adjustment too. But now, as long as I am bottoming out right on my zero line, it ensures that I will strike very subtly downwards on the 5-iron. And see, the handle will end up right on the stick. So there's my forward lean, about 2 inches of forward lean I'm looking for on a 5-iron at impact. So in other words, every swing you make, the handle of the stick will be right on this zero line at the moment of impact. And then you can see a sand wedge is going to be leaning forward about 5 inches or so, but the motion will be the same. You see the motion here, and here the handle's on the stick, it's leaning forward. The ball position is more back of center here as I narrow my stance a bit. But now the same motion, watch, as my wrists are uncocking and catching up, I'm going to end up right in the 5-iron position, right when I reach where the 5-iron ball is. So in other words, my release doesn't change, my wrist action doesn't change, my body action doesn't change. As long as I can develop a golf swing where the low point consistently is right off my left heel here, then I can play every club in the bag with a subtle ball position adjustment. So from the sand wedge, about 5 inches behind the zero line, a little narrower stance, and of course about 2 inches open. There's my sand wedge, but now the motion can be the same to a 5-iron, okay? And so I will swing, hit it ball first, bottom out on the stick line, and then of course you get to the driver and you'll see that it's the opposite, where a driver is going to sit in front of the stick line. That puts it kind of off my big toe. And now the same wrist action here that would cover the sand wedge, but I haven't hit it yet. The wrist will be straightening and the club will get a chance to turn upwards. After it reaches the 0 line, it's going to be 3 to 5 inches. Last 3 to 5 inches, the club turns upwards and helps you propel that ball higher off the tee for more distance. So between the subtle opening and closing of the stance and the ball position and establishing a 0 line, those are the subtle adjustments that you want to make, but then when they become second nature, and they will, you'll be able to use one motion for every swing in your bag, and boy, won't that make golf easier. Hey, thanks for watching and supporting my channel. I hope you'll leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and if I don't see you in the next video, I'll see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Everybody take good care.